Today's devotion comes from the scripture I preached from this past Sunday from Luke chapter 6, verses 27 to 36. And our verse for the day is verse 35, which is very challenging. But love your enemies, do good, and lend expecting nothing in return. Your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High, for he is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. I know from preaching on this passage this last Sunday that most of us are challenged by Jesus' words here. For some of us, it may be hard admitting that we actually have enemies or people we regard as enemies. And yet, if we're really honest, and really think about, well, what makes us mad? What makes you angry if you watch the news or if you hear about certain stories or things? If you get in touch with your emotions, you'll know who you regard as an enemy or an opponent. And Jesus telling us to love those people, the very people we find it the most difficult to love or to be kind or gracious to or to want to spend time with, challenges us really to the core of our being. And yet, as I shared Sunday, this verse is like the essence of the gospel, because if we only love those who love us, if we only do good to people who do good to us, if we're only kind to people who are kind to us, we're not doing anything more than, as Jesus says, sinners do. And I like movies, as you all know, and especially baseball movies. And in the baseball film, A League of Their Own, there's a great scene with Tom Hanks and Gina Davis, who's been the best player on the Rockford Peaches, but she's ready to quit and to go home and to walk away from the game. And she says to Tom Hanks, "It's just so hard." And Tom Hanks looks at her and says, "It's supposed to be hard. If it was easy, everybody would do it. It's the hard that makes it great." And that's true not just of baseball, but it's also true of being a disciple of Jesus. If it was easy to live the kind of life that Jesus lives and teaches us to live, everybody would do it. And clearly everybody doesn't. It's hard to love our enemies. It's hard to consistently do good and to do good to others and to treat others how we would want them to treat us, whether they're treating us that way or not. To be generous to a fault, to be giving and to share freely of our wealth and our resources, of our time and of our gifts. And yet, when we do these things, Jesus says, your reward will be great, for you will be called children of the Most High. Our life here on earth is brief, but the reward Jesus talks about is eternal. And truly, what better praise could we receive than to be called children of the Most High, because our way of living reminds people of our gracious and merciful God.